to cover him off. Kimi Raikkonen on the inside, and he's crashed with Verstappen. He's hit Vettel as well. Raikkonen is out before the first corner, and he's gone into the Red Bull there as well. It's the second time this season.
Brilliant start from Maldonado. He's already passed Raikkonen, who's passed Kobayashi, who was a bit sluggish. And there's Lewis Hamilton slewing into the wall. And oh dear, Romain Grosjean and Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton all coming to grief at the source.
Formula One is supposed to be precise. Perfect braking points. Perfect racing lines. Perfect control at insane speeds. But sometimes, Formula One does something strange. Not loud. Not even dramatic at first. Just straight up wrong. A car lifts where it should not. A system stays open when it shouldn't. A driver walks away from something that clearly should have ended very differently. Today, we're not looking at the biggest crashes, or the deadliest ones. We're looking at the most bizarre Formula One crashes moments that made fans pause and say, "Wait, how did that even happen?" And we're starting in 2010 with a crash that looked more like aviation than racing. 2010, Mark Webber learns how to fly. Valencia. Fast section. High closing speed. Mark Webber approached a slower Lotus. Everything looked normal. Until it just did not. His Red Bull clipped the rear wheel and instantly lifted off the ground. Not bounced. Not crashed, just straight up launched into the air. The car went airborne like a jet taking off. Flipped upside down. Then hit the ground nose first. And then somehow bounced back onto its wheels. The car was destroyed. And neither was Webber. He climbed out, removed his steering wheel, and casually tossed it aside. No drama. No panic. Just a moment that made everyone rethink how fragile control really is. And yet, as strange as that crash looked, it was nothing compared to what Monaco had waiting for the very next year. 2011, when Monaco went silent. Monaco qualifying is already very tense. No runoff. No forgiveness. Sergio Pérez exited the tunnel at high speed. His car suddenly veered right. The impact was brutal. The Zauber slammed into the barrier, slid across the track, and hit again. Then utter silence. The session was stopped. Medical teams surrounded the car. For nearly 40 minutes, nobody rushed to restart anything. Pérez suffered a concussion and later admitted he could not remember the crash at all. That is what made it unsettling. Not the noise, not the damage, but the absence of memory. And after Monaco, you'd think the sport might slow down. It didn't. Instead, Spa delivered one of the closest calls in modern F1 history. 2012, inches at Spa. First lap. With big cold tires. And even bigger consequences. Romain Grosjean moved aggressively across the track and clipped Lewis Hamilton. His Lotus lifted into the air. Time slowed. The car flew directly toward Fernando Alonso. For a split second, it looked inevitable. Then it missed his helmet by inches. Not centimeters, but inches. For cars were eliminated instantly. No one was injured. But everyone knew the truth. This wasn't luck. This was borrowed time. And borrowed time eventually runs out. Sometimes, though, it doesn't, and that's when things get strange. 2013, Maldonado breaks Monaco. Literally. Monaco again. Tight section. No escape. Pastor Maldonado clipped Max Chilton's car. Williams went straight into the barrier at full speed. The impact did not just destroy the car. It tore the barrier apart literally in pieces. Pieces of metal were left lying across the racing line. The race had to be stopped. Maldonado climbed out, unharmed. Williams admitted later they were shaken by how violent it was. This was not a clever mistake, or an aggressive move. It was just Monaco reminding everyone who is in charge. But sometimes, the strangest crashes do not come from walls. They come from the final lap. 2014, Canada's final lap shock. Last lap. Almost done. Felipe Massa tried to pass Sergio Pérez for position. Pérez moved across. They touched. Both cars launched off the track at nearly 200 miles per hour. The impact triggered medical alarms instantly. 27 GS. Both drivers were taken to hospital for scans. And miraculously both walked away. What made it bizarre was not the crash itself, but it was the timing. One corner earlier, one corner later, and it never happens. Formula One does not always punish mistakes immediately. Sometimes it just waits. 2015, the teenager who learned too fast. Monaco. Again. 17-year-old Max Verstappen closed in on Romain Grosjean. Too close. He slammed into the back of the Lotus at high speed. The impact registered over 30 GS. The car was wrecked. The debate exploded instantly. Was he reckless? Was he too aggressive? Or just too young? Verstappen accepted the penalty. And something changed. That crash never slowed him down. It sharpened him. Which makes what happened next year even harder to explain. 2016, Alonso's impossible escape. Australia. Fernando Alonso attempted a pass at over 300 kilometers per hour. His McLaren clipped another car. And what followed looked unreal. The car slammed into the wall. Flipped. Launched. Rolled. Multiple impacts. Up to 46 GS. The car disintegrated. And then, Alonso climbed out. Later, he posted a photo holding a newspaper with the headline, "Luckiest man alive." For once, the internet agreed. But not every bizarre crash ends with an applause. Some end with silence. And that is exactly what happened in Singapore. 2017, Singapore's first corner collapse. Wet track. Night race. The lights went out. Kimi Räikkönen made a lightning start. Max Verstappen was squeezed. And on the other hand, Sebastian Vettel had nowhere to go. Cars touched. And Ferrari spun. Both Ferraris and Verstappen were eliminated before turn 1. The championship shifted instantly. Nothing mechanical failed. Nothing broke. It was just space or the lack of it. Sometimes, that is all it takes. And sometimes, safety proves its worth in the quietest way possible. Just like in 2018. 2018, when the halo didn't make a sound. Spa. First lap chaos. Fernando Alonso's car was launched over Charles Leclerc. The McLaren passed inches above Leclerc's helmet. The halo took the hit. No fire. No explosion. Just carbon fiber scraping titanium. Without the halo, this crash changes history. Instead, it became proof. And proof never needs drama. But Formula One was not done shocking people. And not even close. And that is when we discuss Canada. 2019, the wall that hit back. Canada. The wall of champions. Kevin Magnussen brushed the outside wall slightly, though it looked harmless. Then the tire exploded. The car shot across the track and slammed into the pit wall on the opposite side. The chassis was destroyed. Magnussen had technically qualified well but had to start from the pit lane with a new car. One tiny touch. Massive consequences. Formula One does not always punish speed. Sometimes it punishes confidence. Just like this one. 2020, fire where fire shouldn't exist. Bahrain. Opening lap. Romain Grosjean clipped another car and speared into the barrier at 137 miles per hour. The barrier split. The car erupted into flames. For nearly 30 seconds, Grosjean was inside the fire. TV directors cut away. Commentators went quiet. Then movement of truth. He climbed out. Hands burned. But alive. The halo. The barrier design. The medical response. Everything worked at best. The crash looked like the past. and the survival belonged to the future. And yet, the future still had lessons to teach. So it did. 2021 to 51 GS at Silverstone. Silverstone. Copse Corner. Hamilton went inside. And Verstappen did not yield. They touched. Max's car launched into the barrier at 51 GS. Vertical impact. Medical alarm scream, but beneath the noise was one fact. No car should survive that. And yet, miraculously it did. But this hint was not enough for them. 2022, upside down and gone. So it is Silverstone again. First lap. Zhou Guanyu was flipped upside down and dragged across gravel at speed. The roll hoop failed. The halo dug into the ground. The car disappeared over the barrier and wedged between fencing. For a moment, nobody knew where he was. Then Zhou climbed out. Quietly. No celebration. No fist pumps. Just relief. But relief is never eternal. And sometimes even in form of an open button. 2023, when a button stayed open. Suzuka practice. High speed. Turn 1. Doctor stayed open just a moment too long. The car snapped. Straight into the barrier at over 200 miles per hour. The driver walked away. But the question stayed. Was it a mistake? Or a system waiting to fail? But sometimes, bizarre crashes don't answer questions. They create them. Just like this one. 2024 to 2025. By 2024 and 2025, Formula One crashes don't look dramatic anymore. Cars brush walls. Sessions end. Drivers walk away. But that's what makes these years strange. The speeds are higher. The circuits are tighter. And the margins are still razor thin. Nothing explodes. Nothing goes viral. Yet every replay shows how close things still are. Formula One didn't lose its danger. It just learned how to hide it better. Formula One is safer than it has ever been. And still unforgiving. Because the most bizarre crashes are never the loudest ones. They are the ones where nothing breaks. Except expectations.